Clovelly, or Closed Valley, has always been a tricky place to access, which is one reason for it being such a unique place. Back in the days of the horse-drawn carriage, a visiting newlywed couple arriving at night had a close escape as they sped down the main street unable to stop. Thankfully, they survived, after almost making it down to the harbour. The first car to drive down Clovelly's main street was in 1920, but vehicles have been banned from the main street for many years now. Although some joyriders have managed to get away with it. The tightly knit community of Clovelly has had to pull together and be far more self-sufficient than in many other places. Things that most of us take for granted, such as calling for an ambulance, are not so straightforward when you live down a quaint cobbled back alley. So it pays to get on with your neighbours when the sedan chair and a few burly locals is your only way to the ambulance. Building can also be hard work, but if you're a builder in Clovelly, then you really need to be fit, although the estate tractor is allowed down the main street in special circumstances. Groceries, milk and bread all have to be carried down the main street by hand or on sledges, rain or shine, heat wave or snow. We probably never stop to think how many of our possessions are luxuries until we've been faced with the prospect of hauling them into or out of a location like Clovelly. Even the rubbish collection isn't something you take for granted here. Even today, the Clovelly delivery service hasn't changed much. It's been said that man's best friend is his dog, but in Clovelly the locals might beg to differ. The Clovelly donkeys are now mainly a tourist attraction, but before the motorcar were essential for hauling fish and cargo offloaded at the harbour. These days, most items can be slid down to the harbour on sledges for the Land Rover service to drive up to the main road via the steep back access road. Apart from the comparatively slight inconvenience of the daily trudge is the very real danger that lurks beyond the safety of the stout harbour wall. The North Devon coast has always been perilous for ships seeking shelter from storms, for there are few safe West Country harbours between Padstow and Bideford. Imagine being a Clovelly fisherman and going out in a small boat with just a sail for power in the dangerous and unpredictable waters. In 1821, a huge storm took the lives of over 30 fishermen. Tragedies at sea occurred all too often, and it is said that the seas around the Heartland Peninsula have caused 10 shipwrecks for each mile. The first Clovelly lifeboat station was opened in 1870, following a particularly bad storm that resulted in a number of fishing boats being lost and fishermen drowned. The volunteer lifeboat men of Clovelly have been a lifeline ever since, and are still a vital part of the local emergency services. In its heyday, Clovelly was home to one of the country's only 2 cruising lifeboats. These vessels were the largest ever built for the RNLI, with the crews living on board. After the RNLI took Clovelly's permanent lifeboat out of service in 1988, villagers set up their own inshore rescue boat. Then, 8 years later, the RNLI returned, extending the boat shed and enhancing the inshore rescue service. The lifeboat is now more important than ever with the 2015 closure of the RAF Air Sea Rescue Base at nearby Chivenor. In the summer months, the lifeboat house is often open to visitors and is well worth a visit. The annual RNLI Lifeboat Day is still strongly supported every year. The annual turning on of the Christmas lights is another very popular way of raising funds for the RNLI. There are also many other annual events at Clovelly that have brought the community together and welcomed visitors, as well as royal visits and numerous spots on TV programmes. Lanchard. The aim is to rid Clovelly of all the bad things from the previous year by chasing bad spirits away and driving the devil into the sea before Lent begins. When dusk starts to fall, children set off down the cobbles, dragging clattering cans behind them to the harbour, where the cans are tied together and thrown into the sea, to be later retrieved. Songs of Praise in 1980s. Clovelly Gig Regatta. The West Country boasts a long tradition of racing pilot gigs. Clovelly Yarn Bombing. Knitted samples are sent in from all over the UK and as far afield as South Africa. Clovelly Herring Festival. Back in 1749, there were 100 herring boats in the port, landing up to 9,000 fish at a time. Those days of massive catches are long gone, and just 2 herring fishermen now remain. Street entertainers, stalls, and live music. The seaweed and maritime festivals also raise money for charity, as well as being a fun day out. Hidden from the main street of Clovelly are the back gardens and allotments, the domain of the busy Clovelly Gardening Society. The village won the Gold Award in the 2015 South West in Bloom competition. Floods and storms. In 2012, a blocked drainage ditch at the top of the valley sent a torrent of water up to 2 feet high down the main street, flooding many homes and turning the harbour a reddy brown. The winter storms and high tides of 2014 and 2016 flooded the Red Lion and sunk boats moored in the harbour.